Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, folks. It's almost 10 p.m. Makkah time, and today we will discuss, inshallah ta'ala, the edition of Sahih al-Bukhari, or the two editions of Sahih al-Bukhari published by Bayt Sunnah, where we are currently working on critically editing Sahih Muslim based on 20 or more manuscripts. So Bayt Sunnah first published Sahih al-Bukhari in 8 volumes almost 3 years ago, and then this year they published a light version in 2 volumes, and many brothers were asking about the features of these editions and what new do they have to offer. And I was thinking about doing this session since a long time, since many months, or maybe even for more than a year, but I just was postponing it till I prepare a detailed presentation about it and about Sahih Bukhari and its transmission and whatnot. But today I decided that if I can't do a detailed presentation, let me at least give an overview based on what I can recall, or just having gone through some of the features, skimming through some of the features quickly, so I can recall what this edition has to offer, even though I might not present a detailed description. And I also wanted to present an introduction into how Sahih al-Bukhari was transmitted, and maybe I can just do that briefly before I go into discussing the edition. By the way, here is the edition we are talking about. To your right is the 8 volumes, the 8-volume full edition, in which the first volume is an introduction into Sahih al-Bukhari and the Unini recension. Then 6 volumes, the text of Sahih al-Bukhari, and the last volume is Faharis, indices. And then we have the 2-volume light edition. So we'll be discussing these in some detail, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. But before that, for some novice listeners, or even some beginner students of knowledge who fail to appreciate how books, because we are in the, who fail to appreciate how books were transmitted, how they were copied, how they were, good question, where's volume 3? So where is volume 3? Strange, huh? Yeah, so I was just revising it for the new next edition or next print. So I think I've placed it somewhere in the library. Anyways, so because we are living in this age of the printing press, so and publications, even many people who study the books of hadith, they don't appreciate how books were transmitted and how books were preserved over the ages. So all of us know that the muhaddithin, they compiled ahadith with chains of narration by using chains of transmission called asanid, right? Isnad, plural asanid. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, and before him Malik and Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others. Yeah, this is the beginning of the stream, so we are just introducing people to how books were transmitted. So the muhaddithin, they compiled ahadith, right? So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, for example, has 7,560 or 7,500 plus narrations in the Sahih al-Bukhari. So he compiled each one with its chain of narration. So once Sahih al-Bukhari came into being, or before al-Bukhari, Muwatta Malik came into being, or Musnad Ahmad, what would transpire is that now the whole book would be transmitted using chains of narration, right? So those who came after al-Bukhari, right, and they want to transmit the ahadith found in Sahih Bukhari, so instead of narrating each hadith with a chain, they would transmit the whole book with a chain. So Imam al-Bukhari so now we have all those ahadith in one place. So this which is the Sahih al-Bukhari, right? Al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar al-Sahih, al-Jami' al-Musnad al-Mukhtasar al-Sahih min umuri Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa sunanihi wa ayyamih. So this whole book was transmitted by chains of narration. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah would dictate the book, or he will give the book, or before him Malik and others. So they will give the book to their students, they will copy it down, and then they will read it to the Sheikh, or they will hold their copies and the Sheikh will read from his master copy, the archetype. He will read from it to his students, and they will correct any errors they made while copying down their own personal copies, or they will read out their personal copies to the Sheikh while the Sheikh was holding his own master copy in his hand. And if there was a mistake, or he omitted a word or erred in writing something, the Sheikh will correct him and he would pen it down and make the corrections. So then that's the first generation of narrators from the author, from al-Bukhari or Malik or Ahmad or anyone else. Then the second generation will go to those narrators who had narrated the book from the author and copy it from them, or the book will become very widespread and copyists will make copies of it and sell it in the bookstores, and he will buy a copy, and that will not be considered enough. He will buy that copy and go to someone who had read it out to the muallif, who had heard it from the muallif, who had been dictated to by the author himself. He will go to one of those, right, first generation students of the author, and read out his copy to him, or ask him to read out his copy while he is looking in his own, so that he can make the correction. And then he will say that I narrate this copy of mine, whether it's written by his own hand or purchased from the scribes who used to write books and sell them in the marketplace. So he'll say, I narrate this copy, I read this out to Fulan, to Al-Farabri or Al-Farabri, for example, who in turn narrates from Al-Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah himself. Or I narrate this copy from Al-Ka'nabi, of this Muwatta from Al-Ka'nabi, or Al-Ka'nabi read out the Muwatta to us and I corrected my nuskha from Al-Ka'nabi's nuskha, and Al-Ka'nabi took his Muwatta directly from Imam Malik or other students of Malik. For example, Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah himself, he narrates ahadith from Muwatta, and the Muwatta was there in the hands of the ulama and it was widespread, right? But he doesn't say قال مالك في الموطأ. No, he says حدثنا ابن أخت مالك, right? ابن أبي ويس, حدثنا ابن أبي ويس قال حدثنا مالك أو قال أخبرنا مالك, and or حدثنا القعنبي قال أخبرنا مالك, or حدثنا قتيبة قال حدثنا مالك, or حدثنا ضحاك بن مخلد بن الضحاك قال حدثنا مالك. So he narrates ahadith found in al-Muwatta, but he doesn't do that by directly copying from al-Muwatta. So he has Malik, Imam al-Bukhari has his own copy of al-Muwatta, or several copies which he has read out to the students of Imam al-Malik, al-Imam Malik, to those who had read it out. He reads them out, or he takes the copies and copies the copies of one of the students of al-Imam Malik, and he narrates the ahadith of Muwatta with his isnad going back to Malik. So he narrates the ahadith of Muwatta with one between him and Malik. It's usually Ibn Abi Uwais, who was the nephew, the son of Malik, Imam Malik's sister. So al-Bukhari takes those ahadith, right, and he reads them out to Ibn Abi Uwais, who had in turn read them out to, or had taken from the dictation of Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala directly. Although Imam Malik never used to dictate, or rarely used to dictate, he would tell his students to make their copies and come out and read it to him while he was holding his own copy in his hand. So in this way, books were transmitted by isnad. This ensured what? This ensured that this copy was reliable. There were no scribal errors, no omissions in it, and it had been read out to a sheikh, who had in turn read it out to his sheikh, going back to the author himself. So this way they would avoid mistakes, omissions, errors, and the like. So it would not be enough for you to just buy any copy written by any scribe and just go and say, I have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with me. So before the advent of the printing presses, this was the norm, that any scholar who would rely on book of hadith, he would have to read this book out to a scholar who had in turn read it out to those before him, in a succession, in a chain of narration and transmission, going back to the author of the book himself. So that's why when some of the people, right, they have these doubts about Sahih Bukhari, just like they have the doubts about the Sunnah, right? So they have these similar doubts about Sahih Bukhari, saying, well, all of the copies of Sahih Bukhari come down through al-Farabri, and al-Farabri was, we don't know much about al-Farabri and who he was, and so maybe he lied upon al-Bukhari and he forged a hadith and put it in Sahih al-Bukhari and whatnot. They say things like that. The thing is, al-Farabri is just there for the isnad. Sahih al-Bukhari became well known and famous, and people copied it by the hundreds, and similarly Sahih Muslim, and the copies of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim spread far and wide. But to be more precise and to make sure that the copy is free of errors, you need a isnad going back to the muallif. So Sahih al-Bukhari was narrated by dozens of people from Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. But what happened was that some of these got lost over time. They got lost over time. And more than that, and why did they get lost? And why is the only surviving chain of narration going back to al-Bukhari is that of al-Farabri rahimahullah? That's because of several reasons. One prime reason being that he outlived his contemporaries. He outlived other students of Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah. Right? So for example, you have Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi. He narrates Sahih al-Bukhari directly from Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah. So we know Imam al-Bukhari died 256 Hijri. Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi died 295 Hijri, if I recall correctly, right? And others 280s and 290s, and all other people who narrate Sahih al-Bukhari died in the end of the 3rd century. But al-Farabri, he lived up to 320 Hijri, right? So consider yourself from the 3rd generation, right? So you are in the year 300, or you are in the year 310, and you want to narrate Sahih al-Bukhari. You have this copy, you just purchased it from a scribe, or you have just copied it down for yourself, and you want to get a sanad going back to Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah. So if you go to Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi, he's dead. So if you will have to go to his students, so you will have 2 steps between you, 2 wasitah, two people between you and al-Bukhari, right? So you will have to go to this Fulan who narrates from Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil from al-Bukhari, right? So you will have to, you will be 2 steps away from al-Bukhari rahimahullah. And you are in the year 300, just as I said. But you still have al-Farabri who's alive. So why not go to al-Farabri, read out your copy to him, and then you will get ulu, right? Your isnad will be ali. You will only have now one step between you and al-Bukhari. You will be narrating from al-Firabri, from al-Bukhari, so you will have only one person between you and al-Bukhari. So why should I go to why should I take this sanad of Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi, for example, when I can go to al-Firabri and get isnad ali, right? So in this way, then Firabri has many students, right? Firabri has many students. Some of them they die early. Some of them they age and they become, right? So those who age and they reach their 80s and 90s, so people will go to them, so they can reach to al-Bukhari through two steps only, through that person from al-Firabri, from, and so on, and other chains of narration. Those who died early, right, their chains of narration get wiped out over time. So that's why we see that al-Firabri, his chain survived. Although there were other chains which were present till the 4th and 5th and 6th centuries, even till the time of Hafiz ibn Hajar, he narrates the differences between nusakh, other nusakh of al-Bukhari, right? Like Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi and others. So before me is this sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari by al-Khattabi. So al-Khattabi died 388 Hijri, right? Some 130 years after al-Bukhari rahimahullah. He narrates, right? He narrates Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is his sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari. He narrates Sahih al-Bukhari from right? He says, حدثنا خلف بن محمد قال حدثنا إبراهيم بن معقل النسفي قال حدثنا محمد بن إسماعيل. So he narrates the same Sahih al-Bukhari through the chain of Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi rather than al-Firabri. And the ahadith found in this are the same ahadith found in our copies of Sahih al-Bukhari, right? So this all proves that Sahih al-Bukhari had several chains, and Imam al-Bukhari had different students who narrated his Sahih from him, but some of them survived and some of them died out over time, right? And al-Firabri became famous because if you want to, your sanad, and sanad was because if you have an authentic copy which you have, right, or a precisely, meticulously copied nuskha, copy of your own of Sahih al-Bukhari, so the sanad is therefore in the later days it's more for barakah, so that you have this, and some of them would not even recite the whole Bukhari to their Sheikh, right? They will recite a few ahadith from the start, from the end, and the Sheikh will give them isnad. So when the isnad became more for the purpose of barakah, they would try to seek out asanid which were the shortest going back to the muallif, right? So that's why the chain of Firabri, and from even Firabri, not all chains survived. All chains which branched out from him and from their successive students and so on, not all of them survived. So the shortest chains survived. So that's why Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi and other students of Sahih al-Bukhari, other students of Imam al-Bukhari who had copied Sahih and narrated it to the successive generations, their copies were there in the 4th and the 5th centuries and so on, but they eventually died out, and the chain of, so al-Firabri is not alone in narrating Sahih al-Bukhari. There were other chains or other copies, and they had the same ahadith as we see in this sharh of al-Khattabi, Abu Sulaiman Hamd ibn Muhammad al-Khattabi, Hamd ibn Muhammad, Hamd, it's not Hamad, right? Hamad is very common these days in Imarat, in the Emirates, in UAE, in Qatar. They name their children Hamad. So it's not, but the author of A'lam al-Hadith and Ma'alim al-Sunan, his name is Hamd ibn Muhammad al-Khattabi, not Hamad. So he is narrating from his Sheikh, who in turn narrated from Ma'qil ibn Ibrahim al-Nasafi from al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, and the ahadith found in his sharh are the same ahadith which we have in our copies. So this is concerning, and to know more about the extinct and the extant riwayat of Sahih al-Bukhari, the riwayat which survived and those which did not survive. We have our edition of Sahih al-Bukhari has this introductory volume concerning Sahih al-Bukhari, its riwayat, its nusakh, and the Unini recension, right, upon which we have relied for this publication. So this is the first volume, Al-Madkhal ila al-Jami' al-Musnad al-Sahih wal-Nuskhat al-Yuniniyya. So this discusses in detail all the riwayat from al-Bukhari rahimahullah, al-Farabri and others. And then it gives charts like these, how these riwayat were transmitted by other muhaddithin and how they reached muhaddithin who narrate ahadith of Sahih al-Bukhari in their books. So they discuss riwayat al-Hiri, and you have riwayat al-Farabri, and before al-Farabri you have riwayat Ibrahim al-Nasafi, right? This is Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi, right? So you can see he died 295, while al-Farabri he died 320. And then Ma'qil, Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi, they discuss his students, those who narrated Sahih al-Bukhari from him, and what came, what came about, and what happened to their narrations. Did they survive? Until which century did they survive? Right. So from Ma'qil, we can see from Ma'qil we have many students. Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi, we have 7 students narrating from him in turn. So we have, for example, we have here Salih ibn Muhammad ibn Shadan al-Karaji, Abu al-Fadl al-Asbahani thumma al-Makki, right? So and then we have from his students his son Sa'id ibn Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil ibn Hajjaj al-Ma'qili, and before that we have Khalaf ibn Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari, Khalaf ibn Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari. And al-Khattabi narrates from Khalaf ibn Muhammad, who narrates, who is one of the students of Ibrahim ibn Ma'qil al-Nasafi. So this first volume discusses all the riwayat of Sahih al-Bukhari, which survived till this day, and those which died out over time. And they mention how this the isnad and how it branched out, and till and the books which in which this isnad is mentioned, and the muhaddithin who narrated it, the al-Bukhari, or the ahadith of Sahih al-Bukhari through this isnad, and so on. So this is a whole volume discussing the nusakh and the riwayat of Sahih al-Bukhari. Right, this is like the nuskha of Ibn Sakan. Ibn Sakan, the manuscripts of riwayat Ibn Sakan have probably not survived, but the muhaddithin narrate from Ibn Sakan, who was one of the students of al-Farabri, and so on. So what happens? So the riwayat that became famous were the riwayat of the recensions or the copies of Abi Dharr al-Harawi, the riwayah of Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyah al-Makkiyah, the riwayah of al-Asili, the riwayah of Abi al-Waqt, the riwayah of al-Hafiz ibn Asakir, rahimallahu al-Jami'. So al-Farabri had many students who narrated al-Bukhari from him, and of those, the popular, the ones whose riwayat became popular were al-Hammuwi, Ibn Hammuyah al-Hammuwi, and al-Mustamli, and al-Kushmayhani. These 3. Then there came Abu Dharr al-Harawi. Abu Dharr al-Harawi. He narrated Sahih al-Bukhari from these 3 students of al-Farabri. So So he copied his copy from al-Hammui's copy, and then he compared it with al-Mustamli and al-Kushmihani's copy. And any differences that were there, he noted them down in the marginalia, right? In the margins of the book, right? So Abu Dharr narrates from 3 shuyukh, who in turn narrate from al-Farabri, from al-Bukhari. So the nuskha of Abu Dharr became very popular, and many people relied on Abu Dharr's riwayah. So Abu Dharr's riwayah is basically Abu Dharr an al-Hammui wal Kushmayhani wal Mustamli an Abi an al-Farabri. From Hammui had one another student called Dawoodi, and this Dawoodi had one student called Abu al-Waqt as-Sijzi. Abu al-Waqt's nuskha also became very popular. So Abu al-Waqt narrates his nuskha of Sahih Bukhari from al-Dawoodi, from al-Hammui, from al-Farabri. So we have riwayat Abu al-Waqt, and we have riwayat Abi Dharr al-Harawi, and one of the shuyukh of Abi Dharr al-Harawi, as we just mentioned, is al-Kushmihani. Kushmihani had one other student, and she is Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyya. Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyya, right? She was Musnidat Makkah. She was Musnidat Makkah. She was in Makkah, and she never married, and she used to narrate Sahih Bukhari from Kushmihani, from al-Farabri, from al-Bukhari. So she died, I think, 463 Hijri. One of her students is Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, Khatib al-Baghdadi. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. He died 463 as well. So she كانت معمرة. She lived a long life and died very old. So she died with her student in the same year, 463 Hijri. And 463 Hijri, by the way, is when the Hafiz of the Sharq and the Hafiz of the Gharb, both of them died in the same year. So Hafiz al-Mashriq, al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, Ahmad ibn Thabit, died in 463. And al-Hafiz al-Maghrib, Ibn Abd al-Barr, al-Namari, al-Maliki, right? Al-Qurtubi, rahimahullah wa radi'an, he also died in 463 Hijri, the author of al-Tamheed and al-Istizkar. So, where were we? So we have this riwayah of Karima. It became popular as well. Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyya. And تبركا باسمها سميت ابنتي كريمة أسأل الله أن يجعلها مسندة مكة وأن يجعلها من رواة صحيح البخاري رحمه الله تعالى آمين. So we have نسخة كريمة رحمه الله, and we have نسخة أبي ذر الهروي رحمه الله, and we have نسخة أبي الوقت عن الداودي عن الحموي رحمه الله. And there are other recensions became popular as well. The nuskha of al-Hafidh ibn Asakir, the author of Tarikh Dimashq, and the riwayat and the nuskha of al-Asili. So all these, the Sahih Bukhari branched out into these copies or these nusakh, which were popular in various regions of the Muslim world, and different scholars narrated from these, and differences crept in over time, right, as it happens, right? So maybe there is قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, someone wrote down قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, ثم جاء, he wrote down فجاء, or وجاء وقال فقال, يقول يجوز أن يقول, or يجوز أن تقول, right? It's allowed for him to say, it's allowed for you to say, it doesn't make a difference, right? So these differences crept over time into the riwayat, into the nusakh of these nusakh, right? The nuskha of al-Hafidh ibn Asakir, al-Hafidh al-Asili, nuskhat Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyya, nuskhat Abi al-Waqt. And Abu al-Waqt, na'am. So coming back to our nuskha. So when these differing nusakh had some minor differences between them, or some of them had some mistakes in them, in the dhabt of the kalima, because the skeletal text, right, the skeletal text, the consonantal text is one, but you can, with the ikhtilaf of the nuqta, the dots, the consonantal dots, and the tashkil, you can differences can arise between words, right? So some words, for example, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, من رآني في المنام فقد رآني فإن الشيطان لا يترايا بي. The one who has seen me in a vision, night vision, has actually seen me. فإن الشيطان لا يترايا بي, because the shaitan cannot appear in my appearance. In some of the riwayat of Sahih Bukhari, in some of the recensions, right? If we have these riwayat Abi Dhar, riwayat Karima, riwayat al-Asili, riwayat bin Asakir, riwayat Abil Waqt. In some of them, it is فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَا يَتَزَايَا بِي, لَا يَتَرَايَا بِي, لَا يَتَزَايَا بِي. It's the same text. It's the same, the skeleton of the text is the same. One dot made a difference. So it became لَا يَتَزَايَا بِي. And it's almost the same meaning. لَا يَتَزَايَا بِي is that he cannot take on my appearance, right? So la yataraya bi, he cannot look the way I look, and yatazaya is from z. Z is how your outlook, your what you're wearing, and how do you say it, the way you're dressed and so on. So just like the word Z, right, is taken from the word Z, just as is found in the Athar of Umar radiallahu anhu, وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَزِيَّ الْعَجَمِ, right? So stay away from imitating the ways of the Ajam and how they dress, right? When the greater Persia was conquered, so Umar radiallahu anhu wrote to the governor of Utbah ibn Farqad, the governor of Azerbaijan, asking the Muslims to cling on to their identity and not melt into the Persian identity. So he said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَزِيَّ الْعَجَمِ وَعَلَيْكُمْ بِلِبَاسِ أَبِيكُمْ إِسْمَعِيلٍ. So لَا يَتَزَايَا بِي. So لَا يَتَرَاءَ بِي, لَا يَتَرَايَا بِي, with the تسهيل الهمز إلى الياء. لا يتراءى بي, لا يترايا بي, لا يتزايا بي. So these differences crept into the nusakh over time. So in the 7th century, we had al-Hafiz Ali Abu al-Husayn al-Yunini, Sharafuddin al-Yunini rahimahullah, al-Yunini, right, from Ba'labak. He al-Ba'li al-Yunini. He was born in Ba'labak, which is in Lebanon today, and one of its villages is Yunin, the village of Yunin, right, in the outskirts of Ba'labak. So he's al-Yunini, al-Hafiz Sharafuddin al-Yunini al-Hanbali rahimahullah ta'ala. What did he do? He took a copy from the riwayah of Abil Waqt. He took a copy from the riwayah of Abil Waqt, and then he asked, and then he collected copies from other riwayat, right, from other nusakh. And he went to the madaris and the awqaf and the arbita, right, just like the khanqah as-Samaysatiyah, and he took the best copy which he could find of riwayat Abi Dhar, for example, Abi Dhar al-Harawi, the copy which is narrated through the riwayah of Ibn Asakir, al-Asili, and so on. He collected all those copies, gathered the ulama together in Bilad al-Sham, and he had with his master copy in between his hands, and it was being collated with all the other copies, right? So one had nuskha of Ibn Asakir in his hand, another had nuskha of Abi Dhar al-Harawi in his hand. I don't know if this is how it exactly took place, but I'm just giving you an idea. And one had the nuskha, or he did it himself, and he had one had the nuskha of Abu Dhar al-Harawi in his hand, and one al-Asili, Ibn Asakir, Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwazi, and so on. And then it was read out. Or he made this and he read it out to the ulama. He made the collation himself. Anyways, he collated, i.e. compared what's found in his copy, which goes through the riwayah of Abil Waqt, an al-Dawoodi, an al-Hammui, with other riwayat. And any differences which were found, he put them down in the marginalia, in the margins, using legends or symbols, right? So for al-Harawi, Abu Dharr al-Harawi, he used to write ha, circular ha, right? Just like the number 5 in Arabic. And for al-Asili, Sad. For Ibn Asakir, Sin, whole Sin. Okay. Then for the shuyukh of Abu Dharr al-Harawi, if they differ among themselves, right? So Abu Dharr in his own copy mentions the differences between the 3 shuyukh of his who narrate from al-Farabri, al-Hammuwi, al-Mustamli, and al-Kushmihani. So Kushmihani is ha, right? The 2 circled ha with a kashida in it, right? In Urdu they say do chashmi ha, right? The two-eyed ha. And for al-Hammuwi it's ha with a kashida. And for al-Mustamli it's seen with a kashida. So if it's a whole scene, that's Ibn Asakir. If it's a scene with a kashida, that's Mustamli. So he put down all these differences there. And the copy of that was with him, right? The text that was with him, Hafiz Sharafuddin al-Yunini, rahimahullah. That text was the text of Abul Waqt, and the isnad of al-Yunini going back to Abul Waqt. The isnad of al-Yunini going back to Abul Waqt is so Abu Yunini rahimahullah narrates his copy from قال حدثنا الشيخ سراج الدين أبو عبد الله الحسين بن المبارك قال أخبرنا أبو الوقت. So he has only one person between him and Abu al-Waqt, and that's Sheikh Siraj al-Din Abu Abdullah al-Husayn al-Mubarak al-Zabidi. So to make sure that that what he was narrating from Abu al-Waqt was precise and authentic and free of errors as well, he relied on another copy of Abu al-Waqt, and that's the copy of al-Hafiz Abu al-Muzaffar al-Sam'ani. Abu al-Muzaffar al-Sam'ani narrates from Abu al-Waqt as well. Or Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani. Is it Abu al-Waqt al-Sam'ani, Abu al-Muzaffar, or Abu Sa'd? Is it Abu Ibn al-Sam'ani? Ibn al-Sam'ani. I think it's Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani. Yeah, Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani, the grandson of Abu al-Muzaffar. So then he has this copy of Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani from Abu al-Waqt as well. And for Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani, he uses the symbol dha for Hafiz, because Abu Sa'd al-Sam'ani was the Hafiz of Hadith. So he made this, and when he read out this copy to the ulama, which with all the differences noted down in the margins, he had Ibn Malik with him. Ibn Malik, the author of the Alfiya, the Nahwi, he was there. He was there to address grammatical problems in some of these riwayat or in the wordings of some of the hadith. Why is this marfu'? Why is this mansoob? Why is this anta Aba Jahl in one of the in some of the riwayat, anta Aba Jahl? So it should be anta Abu Jahl. So what's the tawjih of Aba Jahl, right? Salla wara'ahu rijalun qiyaman. So how is it mansoob? So Ibn Malik was there, and he was dictating or providing the grammatical justifications for these differences, and that they are allowed, and that there is a lugha which proves this, and there are shawahid from kalam al-Arab which prove this lugha or this grammatical anomaly, which goes against the anomalous variant in the hadith, which goes against what is the well-known grammatical rule in that context. So Ibn Malik was there, and Ibn Malik authored a whole book concerning those ahadith in which there are problematic grammatical rulings, or in which the words are problematic according to the grammatical rules. And it's called shawahid al-tawdih. It's called what? It's called في شواهد التوضيح في مشكلات الجامع الصحيح. I think it's called شواهد التوضيح لمشكلات الجامع الصحيح. شواهد التوضيح or something like that لمشكلات الجامع الصحيح. So he was there as well, Ibn Malik. And Ibn Malik and al-Hafiz al-Yunini would put down صح or a kalima and maybe write in the margins قاله شيخنا, or right, for example, أكون أنا صاحبه or صاحبه, right? So you'll say that يجوز الرفع والوجه النصب, right? So it's allowed to say أنا صاحبه, أكون أنا صاحبه, but the better way is أنا صاحبه, أكون أنا صاحبه. So أنا will be ضمير فصل and لا محل له من الإعراب, and صاحبه يكون خبر كان. So then he will say قاله شيخنا, قاله شيخنا, يعني شيخنا he means by شيخنا Ibn Malik رحمه الله. So he prepared this copy, Ibn Sharafuddin Abu al-Husayn Sharafuddin al-Yunini رحمه الله. He prepared this copy of his in the 7th century Hijri in Bilad al-Sham. And the ulama, this archetype of this recension of Yunini hasn't survived, right? Maybe it's out there somewhere, maybe it will show up in some of the libraries in Turkey or somewhere, but we don't know if we don't know of its existence. But the ulama, this copy became so famous, others copied from it. They copied from it. And one of the famous people who copied from it is Al-Nuwairi rahimahullah. Al-Nuwairi, the alim, the lughawi, the adib, the mu'arrikh. He has the author of نهاية العرب في آداب وفنون العرب, أو في تاريخ وآداب وفنون العرب, نهاية العرب. Al-Nuwairi, he died, so Sharafuddin al-Yunini rahimahullah, he died 701 Hijri, 701. And Al-Nuwairi died 733 Hijri. He made 8 copies directly from Yunini's Nuskha. 8 copies with his own hand. 2 of them survive in the libraries, in the museums of in the museums and libraries of Turkey, right? So Nuwairi made 8 copies from exact 8 ditto copies of Nuwairi's Nuskha. And then there were other people, Al-Qaysari, Al-Basri, Abdullah bin Salim Al-Basri, the Musnid of Makkah, and others. They made copies. They made copies from Al-Yunini's copy. So Al-Yunini rahimahullah. So this is the Yunini's copy, right? When the printing press arrived, and Sultan Abdul Hamid, one of the sultans of the Uthmani Sultanate, one of the last sultans of the Uthmani Sultanate, he commissioned a copy to be published, to be printed of Sahih Bukhari. And the ulama in Egypt, they took some of these tertiary or furu'i copies of Nuskhat al-Yunini, and they produced they produced a copy which was published under the patronage and of Sultan Abdul Hamid al-Uthmani rahimahullah. So this is called at-Taba', and this till few years back, this was considered the best. This was one of the first, or the first in the Muslim world, the first and the best edition of Sahih Bukhari. The first and the best edition of Sahih Bukhari. It's called at-Taba' al-Sultaniyya. Sadly, I don't have it with me here. Otherwise, I would have shown you. It's called al-Tab'a al-Sultaniya, right? Because it was commissioned by Sultan Abdul Hamid, the Uthmani Sultan, rahimahullah. And it was a joint work done by the ulama of Egypt. The ulama of Egypt, they tirelessly worked to produce this copy, which was published some 120 years ago, I think. So something like 120 years ago. And this was considered to the best the best print out there. Although they have not mentioned in the those who worked on this, producing this copy or this edition, they did not mention the names of the manuscripts or the names of the scribes of the manuscripts they relied on, right, in producing this copy. It's clear that the manuscripts they relied on were they were furu' of al-Yunini, right? They were far'i or tertiary copies of the Yunini's archetype. They all go back to al-Yunini's archetype, but they didn't mention which particular manuscripts they relied on. So what Bayt Sunnah did in this edition of ours, this, right, in 6 volumes, the text is in 6 volumes, is they took 6 manuscripts of Sahih Bukhari, which are these are pictures of those manuscripts which they relied on, right? So we have six manuscripts. This is the asl. This is Nuwairi's copy, written by his hand, and right. So this is Noon. Then we have another copy of written by Nuwairi. You can see the difference is mentioned in the margins using symbols. Ha, Sin, Ta, Sad. Very daqiq, very fine handwriting, and very fine. Subhanallah, you can see you can just see the how he wrote the differences of the nusakh in the margins using Sin, Ha with Kashida, Sad, right? So we have 2 copies, relied on 2 copies of a Nuwairi, written by Nuwairi. Then we have this copy of Abdullah bin Salim al-Basri. It's Sad, or it's Ba. And this of al-Qaysari, it's Sad. Then Nuskha of al-Biqa'i, it's Ain. And al-Qurashi, Qaf. So these are all taken from Sharafuddin al-Yunini's print. This is the Tab'a Sultaniya, the Sultan Abdul Hamid's print. And Sultan Abdul Hamid's print was similar to Nuskha al-Yuniniya in using the symbols to point out the differences, right? You can see the symbols there. So inside you have Su'ila al-Nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Here you have in Riwayat Abi Dharr, Su'ila Rasulullah. It has Ha over it, right? And Haddathana, maybe it's Akhbarana inside, or Haddathani, and it's Haddathana outside, number 8. So it's Haddathani here, right? You can see Haddathani. In the Nuskha of Abu Dharr, it's Haddathana. There's a small Ha over it, and so on. So this is so relying on these nusakh, 2 of al-Nuwairi, al-Basri, al-Qaysari, al-Biqa'i, and al-Qurashi. Six manuscripts, all going back to all which were all of which were directly or indirectly copied from Hafiz Sharafuddin al-Yunini's work. Hafiz Sharafuddin al-Yunini's archetype, the master copy, right? So the text was prepared, the text of our edition was prepared by collating and comparing each word and each haraka and each nuqta with all these 6 manuscripts, together with the Sultaniya print, al-Tab'a al-Sultaniya, together with the sharh of al-Qastallani, which is Irshad al-Sari, because al-Qastallani relied on al-Yunini's archetype as well in his sharh. So and this took some 10 years. This was a collaboration between Bayt Sunnah here in Makkah and Dar al-Kamal al-Muttahida in Dimashq. And then the civil war came erupted, and the people in Dimashq, they were working in the difficult conditions, and so it took more than 10 years to complete this work. 10 years. So they would prepare the text they prepared special fonts for it. Fonts were prepared by Dar al-Kamal, and they would prepare the text in Dimashq, and it was sent here to Makkah, where our Sheikh Abu Sa'id Mustafa Sa'id Itim, Abu Sa'id Mustafa Itim, Hafizahullah, he would recheck the whole text with all those 6 manuscripts. And I worked a few months when he was absent on vacation. I took his place, and it was painstaking task. And alhamdulillah, when he came back, he redid all what I've done, the work I had done. This is some 10 years back. So it took they've been working on from some 15 years now. The project has started some 15 years back. So it took some 10 years to complete this work, and the text came out, as you can see here, in 6 volumes. And there are many other things here to be noted, right? Let me just show you some of the examples. Right? You will see there are 2 footnotes here. The first footnote mentions the differences, and we have wrote down the differences instead of using symbols. So instead of ha and ha and sin and sad, and so fi riwayat Abi Dharr wal Asili wa ibn Asakir wa at. So at, we don't know what the symbol stands for what, because al-Yunini didn't mention it in his muqaddimah. For riwayat al-Sam'ani an Nabil waqt laylatu yawmi Arafah. So this is number 2. Where do we have number 2? Right. So هذه ليلة عرفة. هذه ليلة عرفة. This is how Yunini had in his own nuskha, which goes back to Abil Waqt. But in other riwayat, other recensions, other nusakh, في رواية أبي ذر والأصيل وابن عساكر ورواية السمعاني عن أبي الوقت ليلة يوم عرفة. هذه ليلة يوم عرفة. هذه ليلة يوم عرفة instead of هذه ليلة عرفة. And so these here, what's mentioned are the difference of the riwayat and the difference of the nusakh, because sometimes the nusakh, the 6 nusakh which we relied upon, which were furu' of al-Yunini, they differ among themselves in a word or in a tashkil or in a fatha or a dhamma, right? So for example, uhmila dhabtul kafi fi noon ba, right? So in the nuskha of Nuwairi, noon, and ba of al-Basri, the kaf has no haraka on it. Where is this kaf? Which kaf is it? Let us see. Yeah, wa kulla inna allaha wakkala. Wa inna allaha wakkala. Inna allaha wakkala. So it can be wakala and it can be wakkala. So he says uhmila dhabt al-kafi noon ba wal muthbat min waw sad. So the tashdid is taken from waw sad, from the nuskha of waw with who's waw. Sad is al-Qaysari. وذكر في الفتح أن روايته بالتخفيف. And Hafiz ibn Hajar mentions in Fath al-Bari that his riwayah is wakala, not wakkala. Right? So these are differences between the nusakh and the differences between the riwayat. So the first footnotes, the footnotes are divided into two sections. The first section discusses the differences between the nusakh and riwayat. The second is the takhrij of the hadith from the Kutub al-Sitta and Tuhfat al-Ashraf and the word meanings. انقضي رأسك حلي ضفائره ليلة الحصبة هي الليلة التي ينزل الناس فيها المحصب عند انصرافهم منى إلى مكة وهي ليلة الرابع عشر من ذي الحجة. So word meanings. And you can see here as well that each hadith ends with an empty dara. It's called dara or dara. So this is the empty circle. The muhaddithin used to, instead of full stops, they used to put dara after each hadith or after each segment. And when they would read out to their sheikh, they would put a dot to signal that this is where they have reached. And if they read out the Sahih Bukhari to their sheikh once again, or any other book, or tallied it or compared it and collated it with some other nuskha once again, they would put another dot. So if you find some manuscript having empty circle, it means that it's not been collated, it's not been read out to the sheikh, it's not been corrected. If it is one dot in it, it's been read out once. If it is 2 or 3 dots, it's been read out 2 or 3 times, or compared to 2 or 3 different, or twice or thrice to one master copy. So whenever he would, so this nuskha, we put this circle here. So when you read out the hadith to your sheikh, right? So where you reach and stop, you can just put a dot inside the circle that you have reached here, and then each hadith, as you pass by each hadith, you put a dot there. Another feature of this nuskha is you can see, I don't know if you can see here or not, some of the numbers in the takhrij from the Kutub al-Sitta are bold and some of them are not. Let me just you can see for here for example, أخرجه Muslim, the first one, أخرجه Muslim وأبو داود, right? والنسائي. You can see that Nasa'i, I don't know if it's clear in the camera or not. The Nasa'i, the number of Nasa'i is bold, is in bold font, while Abu Dawud and Muslim are not bold. And this difference is to inform the reader that although this hadith is in Sahih Muslim, right? The hadith is in Sahih Muslim, but it doesn't have this part for which Imam al-Bukhari has quoted it in this bab. So this bab is babun idha badarahu al-buzaqu falyakhudh bi taraf thawbihi. So if you want to spit, you have phlegm, balgham, you want to spit out, take the corner of your garment and spit it in that corner of your shimag or chadar or rida or shawl or something, right? Don't spit on facing the qibla, or you can spit it under your left foot. So this hadith has this at the end, has this ثم أخذ طرف ردائه فبزق فيه ورد بعضه على بعض. So you can rub the ends of the garment after you take out your nukhama or nukha'a or whatever from your nose or your throat, right? So if you have to do it in your prayer, you can take it out on the corner of your shawl and just rub it against each other with your fingers. So this hadith, إن أحدكم إذا قام في صلاته فإنما يناجي ربه فلا يبزقن في قبلته. When you stand in prayer, you are speaking to your Lord. You are having conversation, private conversation with your Lord. So do not spit towards the qibla. This hadith is in Sahih Muslim, but this part about spitting in the corner of your shawl or your chadar or your rida, that's not found in Sahih Muslim. And that part that's not found in Sahih Muslim, that's the part for which Imam Bukhari has mentioned this hadith in this bab. The bab is concerning that part of the hadith. إذا بدره البزاق فليأخذ بطرف ثوبه. He should take the margin of his garment. That's why when we mention the takhrij of the hadith, right? So Muslim, the hadith is in Muslim, but it doesn't have this mention of this taking the margin of the garment. Abu Dawud doesn't have this part as well. The hadith is there, but this amal of the Prophet ﷺ is not there. The qawli hadith is there, the fi'li is not there. But Nasa'i, it's bold, the number. You see the number 30, it's bold. This shows that this part of the hadith, for which Imam al-Bukhari has mentioned it, particularly in this bab, this part is there in Nasa'i. So the numbers which are in bold point to the part of the hadith for which Imam al-Bukhari has أورده في هذا الباب الذي من أجله أورده وجه الشاهد, the point for which, or the part of the hadith for which it has been quoted here. The other numbers point to the takhrij of the asl al-hadith. The original hadith is there, but they don't have this part for which Imam al-Bukhari specifically quoted it in this specific bab. So this is very something precise. This is one feature, it's been meticulously done in a way which for you don't even have to go and open to see the books of hadith. You can just see those one wants to see in Sahih Muslim, so khalas. If it's not in bold, it means that it doesn't have this part, so you don't need to open it and see what the wording was there, and so on. One another thing is, right, you can see Kitab al-Tayammum. I don't know if you can see the difference between Kitab al-Tayammum and Kitab al-Salah. Kitab al-Salah is normal bold font, and you can see that Kitab al-Tayammum is light colored. It's grey. This is dark. This is grey, right? In the header, right? In the header. And why is that? Because this nuskha that we have relied upon, right? So we have kept the kutub. So those who use Tuhfat al-Ashraf or other books or other faharis, right? They the numbering of Sahih Bukhari, we have maintained the numbering of Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi, and the chapter headings in the header are the same as those found in the edition of Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi. But since we don't have Kitab al-Tayammum, right, we have Bab al-Tayammum. Imam al-Bukhari sometimes, and the Muhaddithin sometimes do it. They start a kitab with, they do not use the word kitab. They start by Bab al-Tayammum and others, then go on and mention other abwab pertaining to al-Tayammum. So because we don't have Kitab al-Tayammum, we only have Bab al-Tayammum. This Kitab al-Tayammum we put it in a light color to so that the reader will know that this nuskha of Sahih Bukhari doesn't have Kitab al-Tayammum. It has Bab al-Tayammum. Or sometimes even just like Kitab al-Adhan here, Kitab Mawaqit al-Salah. So Kitab Mawaqit al-Salah is just part of Kitab al-Salah. But in some nusakh and some editions, it's a separate book. And that's what's become popular in the indexes and in other printed editions. So we have kept it there in the header, but we have made it light in color, right? So we have Bab Mawaqit al-Salah. So it's Bab Mawaqit al-Salah, it's not Kitab Mawaqit al-Salah. That's why it's not, it's in light color. And so those kutub which are not in the text, although there might be in some riwayat, as mentioned in the footnotes, it might be instead of Bab al-Tayammum, it might be Kitab al-Tayammum in riwayat of Abi Dharr or al-Asili or others. But since the text of al-Yunini rahimahullah doesn't have the kitab in it, so in the header we keep it in light color to show that it's not there. It's not there. The word, the same title or the same heading is not there in al-Yunini's archetype. And when coming to the Nas, you can see here we have used those same symbols which were used by al-Yunini rahimahullah in his nuskha, and those found in the nusakh of al-Nuwairi and others. They have copied down the symbols, just like this word fa-wahila, fa-wahala. It can be read both ways. So al-Yunini put both haraka on it, kasra and fatha. and wrote ma'an over it. So fawahila, you can read it fawahila, you can read it fawahala, right? So we have this ma'an, and we have just like this. فَلْيَذْهَبْ بِثَالِثٍ وَإِنْ أَرْبَعٍ فَخَامِسٍ أَوْ سَادِسٍ فَخَامِسٌ أَوْ سَادِسٌ. So we have ضمتين كسرتين and ma'an. So you can read it وَإِنْ أَرْبَعٌ فَخَامِسٌ أَوْ سَادِسٌ أو وَإِنْ أَرْبَعٍ فَخَامِسٍ أَوْ سَادِسٍ مَعًا. So all these rumuz, symbols used by al-Yunini rahimahullah, we have put them in the text, right? For example, here ثم لبث حيث صليت العشاء, right? In some of the riwayat it's حتى صليت العشاء. In Abi Dharr and Sam'ani and Abil Waqt حتى, and in Abi Dharr and Sam'ani عن Abil Waqt حتى, right? حتى صليت. So he put صح or حيث, so that the reader doesn't think that's a mistake by the copyist or by the scribe. Rather, this is how it is in his nuskha, حيث ثم لبث حيث صليت العشاء instead of حتى صليت العشاء. I have some more examples of it in our Mujarrad edition. Here you can see, for example, فيفصم 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 and فيفصم, and we have used color coding for it. I don't know if you can see that the dhamma and the fatha are red in color. So it's yufsamu, dhamma goes with fatha, yufsamu, and the fatha and the ya goes with the kasra and the sad, yafsimu. So either you read it yufsamu or yafsimu. So you don't get mixed up between the four harakat. The dhamma is in red together with the fatha and the sad. So these two go together. Sometimes, right, you can see here لِتُرْجُمَانِهِ لِتَرْجُمَانِهِ ثُمَّ قَالَ لِتَرْجُمَانِهِ تُرْجُمَانِهِ. You can read it both ways. So it's ma'an over it. Similarly, we have used sah to show that right, that this is not a mistake. Both it's correct. فلا بأس أن يقول حدثني أن تقول حدثني. فلا بأس أن يقول أي الراوي أو المحدث أو أن تقول أنت. So صح. So al-Yunini rahimahullah wrote صح over it. So it's sahih both ways. Or for example, here al-Bukhari quoted this hadith without sanad. من يريد الله به خيرا يفهمه instead of يفقهه, right? So lest someone think that this is a mistake on the part of the scribe, Yunini put sah over it. So it's not yufaqqihu, it's yufahimhu. And yufaqqihu fiddin, fiddin is not there. So he put a sah at the end as well. That I have not left out fiddin by mistake, or the scribe has not left out fiddin by mistake. This is how al-Bukhari quoted the hadith here, right? He didn't mention fiddin. So sah at the end, that this is how it is. Fiddin is not there. And sah over the ha to show that it's not yufaqqihu, yani, or the ha and the meme are in between, to show that this is not a mistake on the part of the scribe, but this is how al-Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah wrote it. Yani yufahimhu instead of yufaqqihu. So sah is put there to show that this is deliberate, and this is how the nuskha is. Right, you can see that there are two qira'at here. أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا رشدا, right? So Yunini rahimahullah put the sukun and the fatha and wrote ma'an, right? So you can read it both ways. There are two qira'ah, rushda and rashada. So all these conventions, writing conventions or symbols used by Yunini in his nuskha, we have made sure that we write them down in print. For example, you can see here Muhammad ibn Ghurayr, lest somebody think that this is a mistake and it's Uzair. So he put sah over it, that this is deliberate. It's ghain and it's not a mistake. Lest somebody think it's a mistake and it's Uzair, it's not Ghurayr. So it's Ghurayr. So, and you can see here babun al-fahmu fil ilm or babul fahmi fil ilm, right? So you have the dhammatain in black together with dhamma on the meme in black, right? The chapter heading is in red or maroon, crimson, whatever you can call it whatever you like. So you can read it babul fahmi or babun al-fahmu. So the black goes with black, babun al-fahmu fil ilm. So this color coding and these headings in red, these are not there in the full edition or in the first complete edition, right? It's all in black. So sometimes the harakat get confusing, but in the light edition we made sure that we use colors to distinguish between the harakat, which can be confusing because there are more than two places in one kalima which have harakat. So no one makes a mistake which haraka goes with which one. So sah is there. I was mentioning, yeah. So sah is used. Sah is used by the muhaddithin, right, to ward off any any notion of on the behalf of the reader or the copyist or the student that this is a mistake, lest he might think this is a mistake, right? So they use it in various places. For example, the famous riwayat is man yuridillahu bihi khairan yufaqihu. So here he wrote yufahimhu, so he put sah, that this is not a mistake of the copyist. This is how al-Bukhari quoted the hadith here, right? Sometimes they will put sah when it's a very rare word or rare name and someone might think it's a mistake. That's like Hurayr, right? So you put sah over it to point out that it's not Uzair. Don't think I made a mistake and wrote Uzair. The nuqta of the zai went by mistake a bit towards the right and came over the ghain. No, it is Hurayr. I'm aware of what I'm writing. And sometimes there are two lugha, two ways to pronounce a word. Yafzalu, yafzulu, right? For example, so they will the word has been written in the minority reading, or the way which goes against what is more popular in how the word is pronounced. So a word might have two pronunciations. One pronunciation is very common and prevalent, and the other is very rare. So to show that this is how it is, this is correct as well, it's not a mistake, so they put sah over it. And sometimes a word is repeated, right? Some narrator's name is Abdullah bin Abdullah. So they put sah over the second Abdullah, lest someone would think that this is a mistake. He repeated the name by mistake. It's not a mistake. His name is Abdullah and his father's name is Abdullah. Or for example, in the hadith, Zammiluni. So lest someone think that the second Zammiluni was just written twice by mistake, or was repeated by mistake. Some word was repeated by mistake. They put sah over repeated words to point out, especially if they are repeated two or sometimes they are repeated three times. So someone might think it was only two times. Zammiluni. Maybe the third is a mistake on the part of the copyist. He made a mistake and repeated it thrice. So they put sah over it. So this is how the riwayah is. It's three times, and so on. So all those places, thousands of instances in Sahih Bukhari in this print, we have put the sah over, and we have tried as best as you can to place the sah at its correct position, because the font doesn't allow us very much flexibility in where to place it. Anyways, in upcoming editions it will be much more accurate, and inshallah we have come to there are some hacks which you have learned in how to use this how to use the latest edition of Word, in which you can have some equations which are behind the scenes by which you can move something left or right. In font editing you can move it up or down, but there is no option of left or right. But now we have come to know some equations which you can put there, and you can using Alt F9, and you can move anything you want, left or right. Anyways, so this is the all about the text. And in this text, we I don't know if let me just see, the third volume is not there. Okay, the Kitab al-Tafsir, where is Kitab al-Tafsir? The qira'at which were recorded by Imam al-Bukhari, or how the Sahaba read the ayat, they've been written as they were in Sahih Bukhari. Because some of the publishers, they put in the ayah from the Mus'haf. Although Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah wrote the ayah in another qira'ah, or the Sahabi recited it in another qira'ah. So when there is another qira'ah which is other than Hafs, we mentioned that in the footnotes, and if it is from the Shadh, right, we put special brackets on them to distinguish it from the mutawatir qira'ah. Right, for example, you can see here, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنثَى. Ibn Mas'ud used to recite, and وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنثَى. So you have these brackets will distinguish it from the normal brackets of the ayah. For example, the hadith of Ifk, there is وَإِذْ تَلَقَّوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Aisha radiallahu anha used to recite وَإِذْ تَلِقُونَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. So we have written it تَلِقُونَهُ, right, and put in these special brackets that to distinguish this qira'ah which is not among the mutawatir qira'at, is تَلِقُونَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ, right, and she used to explain it from al-walq. So anyways, so we have gone to great lengths to preserve or to print each and everything as was found in Sahih Bukhari, as was found in the archetype of Hafiz Sharafuddin al-Yunini rahimahullah. And even in numbering, right, we have kept the numbering of Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi, although it's not accurate at places, because, for example, this is one hadith with one sanad, and it has two parts in it. So each part was given a separate number by Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi. So we kept the two numbers, right, 2123 and 2124, and we pointed out the place from where the second number starts according to the numbering of Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi. So Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi from here gave it a new number, although it's continuous with the previous sanad. قال وحدثنا ابن عمر. So Nafi' says حدثنا ابن عمر, and he again says وحدثنا ابن عمر. So it's with the same sanad, so it should take one number. But since Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi gave it two numbers, we didn't want to change the numbers, because everyone cites the same numbers in their references, in software, in indexes, and everywhere. So two numbers are there. The first from the start of the hadith, and the second number will start from the root sign, the root sign. In this light edition, we have removed the takhrij from the 6 books, Kutub al-Sitta, and we have removed the differences of the nusakh and riwayat. And we have just kept the takhrij from Sahih Muslim, right? You can see the number of Sahih Muslim here. Muslim 649. So this hadith in Sahih Muslim. And this number R is Unzur 176. So this same hadith in Sahih Bukhari has come before at this number. And if it's this is the first place it's being mentioned, then all the subsequent places or instances and numbers have been mentioned with ta, ay atraf. This hadith 2117 is also found at 2407, 2414, 6964. If you go to 2407, it will say Unzur 2117. Right? Go back to 2117, and you will find all the different turuq and all the different So the first instance in which the hadith has been mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, all the subsequent numbers are there. And if you go to 2407, for example, it says, refer to 2117. Although we have not mentioned the differences of the nusakh and riwayat in this light edition. This light edition is 2000 pages, each volume is 1000 pages, but nevertheless we have mentioned some differences which are very important because there are a mistake in Abul Waqt's nuskha, or there is a hadith which he omitted and it's found in other riwayat, or there is some explanation of Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah pertaining to the meanings of the words of the hadith. So all these things which are not found, right? For example, here you can see number 2. في بعض الروايات زيادة قال أبو عبد الله مرجعون مؤخرون. So this is not found. Maybe it's in Abu Dhar's riwayah, right? It's these words of Imam al-Bukhari. They are not in the sulb, the main text of al-Yunini. They are found in other riwayat, al-Asili, Abu Dhar, or others. So all these additions from the ahadith are words of Imam al-Bukhari, which are not found in this riwayah but are found in other riwayat. We have mentioned them even in this light edition. وفي بعض الروايات زيادة قال أبو عبد الله مرجعون مؤخرون. The word meanings are here. And if you can see here some of the ikhtilaf of the nusakh. Number 2. Where is number 2? Yeah. آري يسمي آري خراسان. Right? So number 2 we say كذا في متن اليونينية وفي بعض النسخ بالنصب وهو الوجه. So in some of the nusakh it's آرية, and that's the correct way to say it. والآري مربط الدواب, and the meaning of آري is and then we explain that. So even in this light version, which is طبعة مجردة عن فروق النسخ والروايات, so it's free from the differences of the manuscripts and the riwayat, the different recensions, the furuq between Abi Dharr and Asili and Ibn Asakir and others, and the nusakh, the 6 nusakh we have relied upon. So although it's we have removed most of the differences, but some important differences have been mentioned, especially if it's a mistake, or there is some hadith which is not found in Abil Waqt's recension in Sharaf ad-Din Yunini's main text. It's found in the Hamish because it's found in other riwayat. So we do mention that in the footnotes. Together with the word meanings, of course. And you can see here أن تراه تغرب في رواية إلى أن أراه تغرب. So some important differences between the words of the riwayat have been kept in the footnotes. Sometimes whole hadith has been mentioned in the footnotes because it was in Abu Dhar's riwayah, for example, and other riwayat, and not in Abu Waqt's riwayah. Maybe Abu Waqt omitted it by mistake. He jumped from one hadith to another, from one haddathana to another haddathana, right? And you can see here تعليق by al-Firabri, which was found in other روايات. في بعض الروايات زيادة قال الفرابري قال أبو جعفر حدثت أبا عبد الله فقال سمعت أبا أحمد بن عاصم يقول سمعت أبا عبيد يقول قال الأصمعي وأبو عمرو وغيرهما جذر قلوب الرجال الجذر الأصل من كل شيء والوقت أثر الشيء اليسير منه. So this is a تعليق by al-Firabri, which he did not hear from al-Bukhari himself directly, but rather which was narrated to al-Firabri by Abu Ja'far, who narrated it from al-Bukhari rahimahullah. And this is found in some riwayat, in Abu Dhar's riwayah for example. So we put it in the footnotes. And even some differences like this, Babu Kaffarat al-Iman, because it's a kitab in some of the riwayat. So we mentioned that it's في بعض الروايات كتاب instead of باب. في بعض الروايات زيادة فيه عن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. في رواية زيادة أوزارا أثقالا، في رواية زيادة وهي الأثقال، وفي رواية زيادة قال ابن عباس بقبس ضلوا الطريق وكانوا شاتين فقال إن لم أجد عليها من يهدي الطريق آتكم بنار توقدون. So this أثر of Ibn Abbas in Kitab al-Tafsir was in other riwayat. So we kept this in the footnotes. Other differences of riwayat and nusakh have all been removed. And this one feature of this nuskha, the light nuskha, is that it uses it's been published in two colors. And inshallah the full edition will be the second edition of the full version will be published in two colors as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The one we have here is in black only. So these are some of the features of these two. So what makes it different from Taba' al-Sultaniyya? What makes it different from Taba' al-Sultaniyya and Dar al-Ta'sil? Dar al-Ta'sil didn't go back to the manuscripts. They just took Taba' al-Sultaniyya and retyped it, and instead of the symbols they used explained the differences of the riwayat in words. That's it. They didn't go back to the manuscripts. That's one thing. One important thing, one big difference between Taba' al-Sultaniyya and Dar al-Ta'sil and our print is that the differences of Karima's riwayat Karima bint Ahmad al-Marwaziyya, they are not found in Taba' al-Sultaniyya. And why is that? And that's because Al-Yunini rahimahullah did not use a symbol for Karima. What did he do? When there is a difference between riwayat, right? Some riwayat have one word, Rasulullah. The other riwayat have Nabeel, qala Nabeel sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For example, so he has inside in the main text he has Rasulullah, in the outside he has a Nabi, and he meant. So the one which corresponds to the riwayah of Karima in all these such differences, he writes it with red ink. So and this is what Al-Nuwairi does, and what Al-Basri and Qaisari do as well in their copies, their tertiary copies which they copied from Al-Yunini's archetype. So this has been lost in Taba' al-Sultaniyya because there is no rums for it, and Taba' al-Sultaniyya is one color, right? It's all in black. The words which were in red, some of the differences in the Hamish, they are in red. Being in red shows that this is the riwayah of Karima, right? So we have put that in words. So we have mentioned the differences of Karima's riwayah, which are not found in Taba' al-Sultaniyya nor in Dar al-Ta'sil's print. Another difference is that our print has the farkha. The farkha is the muqaddimah of Al-Yunini rahimahullah. he wrote a muqaddimah to his work in which he mentions the symbols which he has used, and this is Muqaddimatul Imam Sharafuddin al-Yunini rahimahullah. And he has mentioned the nusakh, the copies which he has mentioned the symbols which he has used, right? Kushmiyani ha, al-mustabni sin ha kada, fal-hammuyi ha kada. And he mentions, for example, the nuskha of Abu Dhar, where did he get it from? So he mentions where this nuskha was found, and in al-Sumaysatiyya, and he took it from there, and so he mentions all the nusakh and their lineages, the lineages of the nusakh. So this muqaddimah of it's few pages, the muqaddimah of al-Yunini rahimahullah, it's not found there in the Dar al-Ta'sil print nor in al-Taba' Sultaniyya. And this muqaddimah was known as al-Farkha because it was just a bundle of pages, or farkha of pages, which was at the start of the book. It came to be known as al-Farkha. So 2 pages, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of which is the introduction of Imam al-Yunini rahimahullah ta'ala. So he mentions his asanid, he mentions the rumuz, he mentions the nusakh which he relied upon, where they were and what their lineages were. واخترت لأبي ذر ها على هذا الشكل علامة لأنه غلب عليه النسبة إلى بلده فلا يقال إلا الحافظ الهروي وللأصيل صاد هكذا. So he mentions the rumuz. And he mentions his sanad, right? أما رواية الحافظ أبي القاسم ابن عساكر مؤرخ الشام فحدثني بها إجازة الشيخ السديد المكي بن علان القيسي وزين الأمناء بحق سماع شيخنا زين الأمناء من عمه مؤرخ الشام. So he has this nuskha of Ibn Asakir with one step between him, one wasita between him and Ibn Asakir, which is the nephew of Ibn Asakir. So this is not found there in the Muqaddimah of Yunini rahimahullah himself, is not found there in the Taba' Sultaniyya, nor in Dar al-Ta'sil's print. So this light version differs from the original in the sense that this was published later, so some of corrections have been made in word meanings, and some more word meanings have been added in the 2-volume version, the light version, the mujarrada, the Taba' al-Mujarrada. And these will be put in the full version as well in its new edition, which might take which might take 2 or more years to get published or printed, because the first edition is there are a few hundred copies of the first edition yet to be sold out, and then all other corrections and everything which were made in the light edition, in word meanings especially, will be put there in the first whole edition as well. So the second edition is better in the sense, this light edition is better in the sense that the word meanings are more accurate, more precise, are better, and there are more word meanings there in the footnotes. Otherwise the text is the same, and alhamdulillah there's there's almost no mistake in the text, except for one place where instead of Rasulullah having fatha on the ra, there's by mistake dhamma on the ra or something. This is the only one I can recall which we came across after reading it time and again. For preparing the Taba' al-Mujarrad and 2 volumes, we took almost 2 years to prepare it. I and our brothers at Bayt Sunnah. So we some of us were reading the footnotes only, some of reading the text only, some of reading the whole of it, and some focusing on the commas, focusing on the dots, focusing on whatnot. So we read it time and again, and alhamdulillah the text is almost free of errors. There are some things in word meanings which people differ over, or there are the shurrah, and some expressions are better than others, and things like those which one can never be perfect, achieve perfection in. So these will be improving in each upcoming edition. But the text, inshallah, is free from errors in both the editions, the full version, the full 8-volume version, and the light 2-volume version. So those who are researchers and ulama and mashayikh, they should take the full edition. Especially the first volume is priceless. And this first volume also has this Hidayat al-Sari li Sirat al-Bukhari by Ibn Hajar. So this is a separate work written by Ibn Hajar on the Sirah of Imam al-Bukhari. So this is in the end of the first volume as well. Those who want to just go through Sahih al-Bukhari, or without going into the details of the differences of the manuscripts and the differences of the riwayat and the recensions, they can purchase this light edition. It's much more beautiful because of the 2 colors used, and it has more word meanings than the whole edition. And and the takhrij of Muslim is there. No need for Abu Dawud, Nasai, Ibn Majah, and others. So this 2-volume, this is the first time. Not because I'm not saying this because I'm part of Bayt Sunnah. Years before that, I would say to myself, why is there no edition of Sahih Bukhari which is worth which you can just open and read? All those editions of Dar al-Salam and others, right? They were in two columns, very small font size, and in one big volume. So there is no place to write anything, any footnotes, any margins, any hawamish, any fawaid, any word meanings, anything. And it's very small print has been used. So there was no edition which you can just open and enjoy reading it. So this 2-volume edition is, subhanallah, I think it's the first edition which makes you want to read it. Walillahi alhamd, wal fadlu lillahi awwalan wa akhirah. May Allah forgive us our shortcomings. May Allah forgive our sins by the blessing of having worked upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ to present it to the ummah in a way which is appealing, which is accurate, which is precise, which is free of errors. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to continue and complete our work on Sahih Muslim, which I have been working on for the last 3 years, so that it comes out just like or better than this edition of Sahih Bukhari بإذن ta'ala. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.